Over the years as an artist, I've returned to figure painting over and over. I've painted much of my family. I've painted Grady all the time. I've painted him for years and years, since my early days of painting. I've been painting from old family photos for the last year or two. And I've been painting myself for years. A couple weeks ago, I stumbled on an artist named CHANTEL, JOFFEE, and I was totally inspired by her figure work, her line work, her loose style. I watched anything I could find on YouTube and Vimeo, looked at all of her stuff, any place I could find it. This inspiration got me wanting to jump back into figures, but I just hate working from photographs. You can't see the colors of the skin tone and just, I don't know, there's just something about working from life for me in every area of work. Landscape, still life, figures, everything. Something about painting from life for me, it just does it for me. So I decided to get myself a model. I found a model that was free, always available. She does whatever I tell her to do, and she doesn't make me nervous. Her name is Sandi Hester. Free model, available, easy to get along with. I'll do anything, whatever. It's really the only reason I paint myself is just because I'm easy to get along with and easy to paint. I'm here, I'm available. It's not anything to do with I love myself and I think I'm great and want to paint myself. It's just the fact that I can easily access myself in a mirror, and there you have it. I'd like to share with you how I actually use myself as a model, how I do self-portraits, and what I'm after, and some tips along the way on that. What in the world? First and foremost, I am not usually going for a lightness. That is not what I'm after. I'm going to share more about that later in the video of why that's the case, but that's just not what I'm after. I'm after being able to use myself as a model, be able to look intently and closely at real flesh in real time, very close. I'm actually happier when it doesn't look like me. I just need a present in the flesh body, and mine will do. I do often paint Grady, but he complains like 5 minutes into, sitting for me, and he's like, this is taking so long. I need to move my foot. I'm thirsty. I need to use the bathroom, on and on. I don't do that. I'm also going to be showing you some older work of self-portraits that I've done, newer work, all of that. First, let's jump into some tips. I want to give you some tips on working from photos or even video to be able to paint yourself, and also some tips from working from life. In the past, I've had Grady actually photograph me. I'll set up like little scenes, usually outdoors, because back then I was painting light and shadow. I really needed that to help me navigate value. And so I would set up scenes outside. I could pick the clothes that I wanted, which was really nice, the things that I was actually drawn to, and I would try to direct him to photograph me and give him the vision, which didn't always work, but I've got great photos from years and years ago that I still paint from today. But I don't love that method because in photographs, all I really can see is light and shadow. I can't see the different tones in the skin. There's so many places in the skin, especially I feel like on the face, where the light changes, where there'll be green tints or kind of a purple, like in the eye part here. I love this. There's always like blues and purples, and the color of the iris of your eye, the white part of your eye that you think is white, but it's usually just so many different colors. And I just can't get that from a photograph. So if I'm looking to just get a scene or a certain outfit or any of those things, photographs work great. And you can usually get a child or a friend or a spouse, somebody like that, to photograph for you, and you can just take your time setting up, put the outfits on, hats, whatever. So that's a great way to do it. The other thing I do like about photos is that I can edit them. So because they may be a little bland with color, you can pop that photo into some editing software, different apps. I use different apps, and play with different filters and get completely different colors in the background in your face and hair, and that's really fun to be able to paint from. So I've done that some. You can also turn up the saturation with that, which is really fun. That's gonna work so good. The other thing that I've been enjoying doing recently, which has really surprised me, and I don't even know why I thought about this, but I've been enjoying taking photos that are on my phone and really zooming in. I think I would have thought that I would have enjoyed having it more on my computer where it's a big screen or on my iPad, but there's been something about really zooming in and just having like a big eyeball here that I'm painting from. And I can see more of the color, I can see the shapes, I can just kind of get lost in the abstractness of it instead of, am I placing everything in the right way and all that. I can just zoom in or zoom in on like the nose area and just get lost in those things. The other thing about the zooming in on like a photo is that if you zoom in enough, I just did that because that's what you do, you go like that, but that was a little dramatic. When you zoom in, if you zoom in enough, things kind of get blurry, which is also nice for looseness and not getting so sucked into the detail, every wrinkle and every eyelash. So I have really enjoyed that aspect. In fact, some of the landscape paintings I've been doing recently, I've been painting from photos that I took like on walks, and I've been enjoying using my phone. Again, I think because in some sense it's small, but I can also zoom in. I think most people would think you'd want to zoom in to see the details, but I'm zooming in because it just abstracts things. I don't know, it's just something in the last few months that I've discovered about myself and enjoyed that process. So it may be something that you'd want to try yourself. Another way you could use your phone or a camera is to film yourself. I have not done this yet, but I've got scenes in my mind that I'm going to do at some point. We've got great furniture around our house. Like we've really got this great red couch, and I've been envisioning certain outfits that I have and ways that I could like lounge on the couch to get some composition that I'm looking for. I've thought about hiring some of my friends before to come model for me, but I think there's an aspect of nervousness and I can't really intently look, or it feels uncomfortable, I think, or I think it would feel uncomfortable. It's just different when it's me. I can just stare at myself as long as I want and I don't make myself uncomfortable. But I have been thinking about setting up the camera and filming myself, maybe staying in a certain pose, not that, I don't know why I just did that, but basically staying in a certain pose for maybe 10 minutes, 5 minutes, because I could loop that. But the other thing I could do, I've got that pose. I don't know, why am I doing this? Because I'm sure not gonna pose like that, but basically however I would pose. And then if I do it in 4K, I can zoom in and either do screenshots from that or just have it playing on my computer and paint from that. And that could feel a little more like painting from life. I don't know why I really had that concept instead of taking photos. I'm not real sure, but I've just had that idea. So I just thought I'd pass that on to you because I am going to do that. I think it's something a matter of, instead of having somebody stand there and snap it for me, or even using my watch, which I could snap a photo, or the timed thing, that like the timed photo picture thing, camera, I could just set up the camera and film, and I can move in different positions, and then I could go back and edit that and just have those things. I felt like that could be a nice way to get pictures or to paint scenes that I would want to paint from. Let's move on to tips from painting from life. I've used several different mirrors for this, and you may think, why? Well, first off, I first started with this antique mirror that I have. It's kind of like fuzzy and it's got little speckledy things all on it. And so there's just kind of a looseness. I'm not crisp. I don't see all the details. The light's a little fuzzy and hazy because it's kind of milky, or I don't really know how to describe it, but that's been really nice. This round of figures, self-portraits that I've been doing, I started with that. I like that it's rectangle. It's a little smaller, so it was a little weird to try to set up on my desk, but I have been enjoying the frame, like the rectangle, because it gives me a frame. Then I brought my large bathroom mirror in because I was realizing the antique mirror was a little small, and I loved having that big mirror because, again, it was framed. It just kind of gave me this very set frame and limited all the things, and I loved like the composition. I loved what I could see. So I loved being able to see myself, but then seeing what was in the background. That kind of stuff was really, really fun to paint. Also brought in an oval mirror sometime. I just brought in different mirrors, and they all kind of changed it up. And because of the different size and shape of the mirror, I'd have to set it up in different parts of my desk. So that gave me different views and backgrounds, which was super nice. Also did it at different times of day, so the lighting was a little different. I haven't done this yet, but I'm going to do it. I had the idea of bringing in a really strong light source to have that on me for different shadows and just different lighting. I was thinking it'd be nice to even like maybe have the light coming up this way. Like I can just play with that a little bit. I've also been using different shaped and size handheld mirrors. That has been great because, again, it kind of zooms in. I'm able to just put that mirror right up to my eye and just observe and looking for shapes and colors. I've got a round one, I've got a bigger rectangle one, and I've got one that is a magnified mirror. That's super fun too because, again, it's kind of like this really zoomed in abstract that happens. So all of those different mirrors have been really fun to help me kind of get out of my head and to be able to just play and enjoy just looking at shapes, colors, and that kind of thing. I just really, really love observing, whether I'm out in nature, looking at landscape, even if I'm looking at a photo, or it's a still life or a bird, whatever it is, there's something really wonderful about once you've looked at something for a little while and your eyes start adjusting the different nuances of color and shape and pattern making. Those things really, really excite me as an artist. And so that's what I kind of get sucked into when I'm doing these, what are called self-portraits, because I'm painting myself, but I really just want to think of myself as a person, a figure that's here, and not get caught up in rendering myself in great detail and it having a good likeness. I want to get more into an abstractness. I want to have freedom to change things. It was a little annoying because the more I did these self-portraits, the more I looked like myself, because I was observing more and more and getting used to making the marks. And you may wonder, well, why do you not want to look like yourself? Why would you not want it to look like yourself? Let me give you a few reasons why. The first reason I do not want it to look like me or to worry about it looking like me and have a resemblance is because I want to be freed up. The last thing I want to do is sit down to paint and have this like, oh, it needs to look like me. That is the last thing I want. I want to just go in and be able to enjoy the process. And I think if it feels this monumental, it needs to look like me, that's not a good way to start it. I don't want that pressure. I don't want to lean into tightness because I like a looseness. I like the way it looks when it's loose. I like the process of painting in a loose style. I want to also be able to like play with shape and color, not be tied to the color of my hair or the color of my eyes. If I'm observing my lips and want to really exaggerate that, yeah, not put the lips in the right place because maybe I'm holding the mirror up and I plop that shape down in a place that I'm not measuring and all of that, then I want to have the freedom to do that and enjoy that. And I love when I get all these different looking people in my paintings. Like, that's really exciting for me. It feels like it would feel boring if it looked like me every time. That's part of it also. I think I'm also going to stop labeling these in my sketchbooks or wherever I'm painting them as self-portraits, because as I've been labeling them that and then sharing them like on Instagram, people have gotten really excited or been commenting, oh, I can see the likeness. And it's like, that's what people are excited about, instead of seeing it just as a figure and enjoying it for what it is, as just a painting. So I thought I need to stop writing that on there because it just doesn't matter. And I just want it to be a painting, and it be a painting just on its own, not because it looks like me. I don't know if that makes sense, but for me, it makes sense. If you go into it as just thinking of, I'm just using myself as a model, I'm not trying to make a self-portrait, then you immediately go in with a sense of play and a sense of freedom and can just focus on those shapes, colors, and line work and things like that, and mark making. I love thinking about the design of it, and for me, the wonkier the better. I'm going to show you some really wonky ones that I've done in the past, and I think it's funny that I've put self-portrait because I have chuckled before thinking like, you know, if I ever end up being a famous artist and when I'm dead and gone and people are looking at some of these and are like, what? Self-portrait? What? Is this supposed to look like her? No, it's not. It's not. Here's the recorded, this is documented. No, it's not. I do want to say there's absolutely nothing wrong with it looking like you or you desiring it to look like you. There's nothing wrong with that. I'm just sharing my perspective. There's nothing wrong with that. If you want to sit down and paint yourself and it look like you, that is a great goal to have. I'm just sharing my viewpoint of how I am thinking about it when I sit down, and maybe give you some different ideas of the thought process and the thinking that you can have and the headspace you can get into when you're using yourself as a model. Sometimes I'm aiming for that and sometimes I'm not. Most of the time I'm not. Let me show you what I'm about to do. So last night before I had to go make dinner, I was thinking about flipping through my just different art books to look at figures. I feel like I'm only interested right now more in like a portrait. I just want to get into like big shapes of the face, but I thought, let me just flip through, see if there's any inspiration. And I found one in my Impressionist book that there were parts of it that I thought, I think I want to just paint it, like my version of it in my sketchbook, and see if I can get excited about like full body shapes instead of just the face, because that's really all that's interesting me right now. And so I'm going to sit down for a few minutes. I have just a little bit of time this morning because Grady's got a meeting, and then this afternoon I'm going painting with a new friend. She's in college here and I'm excited. We're going to go to a local park and do some sketching, and I'm going to introduce her to, getting out and doing that. So I'm excited. It's going to be so fun. The weather's going to be pretty decent today, so that'll be great. Okay, let me show you the book and what I'm doing. Okay, so this is the book, Impressionist Women. There's the person who put it together. I got it for $7, probably cheaper than that because I always have like credit at this place. Yeah, it's okay. I wouldn't say like rush out and get it. I do like it, but this was the picture that I thought, ooh, there's something about some of these figures, the way that they are simplified. I like the shape of this big tree and actually even some of the colors. Most of this I'm going to leave out, but I just thought yeah, I think I'll just sit down and sketch that and use my acrylics and this sketchbook that I've been using, which is, let me show y'all in case you ask. I'll have it linked below. Strathmore Mixed Media. It's okay. I mean, I'm not like dying over it. The paper does not have as much sizing as I like, but this is what I've been doing these self-portraits in. So I'm gonna sit down and do that. Okay, so here's where I left it. I'm loving how things are coming along, and I'm just kind of carving out. I didn't have as much time as what I thought I would to work on it. But today I'm going to sit down and work some more on it. Right now, though, I'm starting off the morning by doing some color charts. I got some more new acrylic wash from Turner's that I'm playing around with. So I am just learning my colors, seeing what I like, and warming up with doing this for the day. I'm doing some comparison of colors. Also things like I got this mixing magenta and crimson. And so I'm doing things like seeing which one I like, mixing it with white and things like that to see what it does with other colors. This is what I've been looking for in a pinky red. So this is going to be great. The crimson was too something, I don't know. This mixing magenta is awesome. I wanted to show you the paintings that I've been doing over these last, I don't even know how long now, maybe a couple weeks, and just some other random things as I've been flipping through my sketchbooks, looking for all these paintings, found some old self-portraits and just some other things that I thought I would show you. So let me put you overhead and we'll take a look at that. These are some older ones, and I think my favorite part, as you'll see, is the eyes. I always love painting. These are done very loosely, and you can see what I mean by changing the hair color. These are not self-portraits. This was, obviously that's not a self-portrait. I really like the looseness here in the way I rendered the face. These were done on this yellow background. I prepped some paper a long time ago and just did these right on top. I was thinking about rendering the background, but then I just liked these just like they are. And here, both of these, I was really focusing on the different colors that I saw in the face. This was that painting that I started with the different figures that I didn't finish. I've just kind of stopped here, and I think I'm going to date it and leave it like this. There's something very loose about it that I like, but I did find that I've just been enjoying doing the faces, like doing just a larger face and not doing these small figures. I really liked how this one turned out. I liked that part of my studio was in here, and then I just abstracted the background like this is one of my easels, and then the red door. And like here, I made my eyes green. Well, I made my eyebrows green also, but you can just play with color like that. You're not stuck to, if you've got brown eyes, doing brown eyes. This one right here is my absolute favorite. I love this one. I love that it doesn't look like me. The background was super fun. This is one that I did from a photo that I zoomed in. The abstractness of that background makes me so happy. I love the lips and the way those were rendered. The eyes, the glasses. I just absolutely love this one. It was a ton of fun to do. This is one that when I posted this on Instagram, just a partial of it, people just went crazy. Oh, it looks so much like you. And it does look more like me, but it's because I've been doing a whole bunch all in a row. And this was when I was kind of like, oh, It's looking too much like me. I mean, I like it. I just feel like this one here has more personality. People often say, why don't you smile? Why don't you paint you smiling? You just try painting yourself or somebody smiling and then you'll understand. Most people don't paint figures smiling because it's just looks weird. I think here I was getting too caught up in it looking like me. I was realizing that, and then I just kind of got all lost. This right here is my favorite part of this, abstracting just that background, the view out the window. Okay, that's it in this one. Two more that I did one day. Here I could tell again I was getting too much lightness, so this one I really tried to be loose. The eyes turned out really good, I think, on this though. And it was fun painting my jumper, my overalls that day. This one, I did the mouth, the nose and the mouth before anything, and I love that mouth. That's my favorite mouth that I've done. I put a swatch of paint down and then blotted the bottom, and I loved the abstractness. So then I tried to keep that throughout, but I think that's the most successful part of this painting. If you're wondering what this sketchbook is, I made it, and I've been making a ton of sketchbooks lately, so I'm gonna be telling you about those and showing you how I make them in a future video. Okay, we'll end with this one because I thought this was really funny. So at the end of a couple weeks of doing these, I was having a Zoom call waiting for a doctor. It was kind of like one of those televisits, and I could see myself in the monitor while I was waiting, and I thought, oh, I'll sketch myself. So I grabbed a black marker and sketched myself from this little bitty screen, and then I drew that to remind myself. So I thought that was funny. So there's all kinds of different ways. In fact, that reminds me, that is another way. You could turn your computer on and turn the camera on, or do like a Zoom or FaceTime and see yourself that way instead of using a mirror. So, you know, if you're, I don't know, someplace where, I was gonna say the airport or something, but that would feel a little awkward at the airport, but that's another way that you could get a mirror. Okay, is that all? Yes. This is Editing Sandi here. I'm sitting here editing the video, and I keep thinking back to a Substack video that I shared some thoughts about looseness and the whole point of looseness for me. And I feel like it's appropriate for this video. So I thought I'm going to pluck that footage out. It was a video that I did where I was launching the bird class, but my mom watched the bird class and had some very interesting questions about some of the exercises and about looseness. So I thought I'm gonna just share that here because I think it's very informative and pertinent, and I got a ton of great response from it and heard from people of how helpful it was. So I'm gonna plunk that in now. My mom watched the class. She's one of the people that I asked to kind of watch it, let me know if everything's working and if everything looks good. It's interesting because my mom's not an artist in the sense of like a painter or drawer. She's very creative, has always been creative, and she sews and does sewing classes. She's very creative and all of that. If you have been around here for a while, you've seen like the art rolls that she has made and things like that. Very, very creative. And I find it interesting that she enjoys my videos and my classes. She's always like, they're so interesting. It makes me want to go paint, which I know if it makes her want to go do that, I'm like, when? Because she doesn't paint or draw. And so I feel like that is exciting that would make her want to. So she watched the class or she had gotten to like maybe a third or halfway through, and we were talking on the phone about it. And she said, I find these like first videos very interesting. I can't remember the exact word she used, but basically it's a lot of kind of warm up things and just different kind of exercises instead of just straight out painting birds. And she wanted to know like, what's the purpose of this? It looks really fun and interesting, but is there a purpose basically? And I thought that was a great question because sometimes I feel like I don't maybe do a good job of like vocalizing those things because they're so intuitive and so part of me, and I guess I just think that maybe other people understand why. So it was fun to kind of try to verbalize that to her. Those exercises are so important, and I say that in the class, but one of the things that like warm up exercises do is not only warm you up, just like if you need to warm up before you're going to go exercise, you've got to get your eyes warmed up to looking well. You've got to get your brain warmed up to be in the process and not to be all, you know, how we can be like into ourselves and thinking too much about things, feeling too perfectionistic. It's about warming your hand up, but it's also, these exercises are designed, not just mine, but any kind of warm up exercise or kind of loose things that aren't just about painting a masterpiece kind of painting. It's also about teaching you how to look better, look well, and to look in a way that's not just about the object that you know it to be, like maybe a bird or whatever it is. Some of my exercises are designed to help you start just seeing shapes and break things down, to help you forget that this is a bird, but to help you just go into shapes and what things are sitting next to each other. And those kinds of things help us so much. I think people don't realize how much warm-ups or exercises that are designed to help you see, and all the things that I just said, how important they are. And even just the thing of just play, being able to create something that you know is not going to be a masterpiece. It just frees you up to be able to just get paint or pencil or whatever it is on the paper and moving. Those things are so important, to create and create and create. That's the only way you get better. And then I was thinking about this yesterday, and this is why I'm going into all of this. So I wanted to tell you that because you may have that same question. But I also was thinking about how like so much of my practice is about growing in painting loose, chasing that abstractness. And yesterday I had kind of a little, oh yeah, this maybe would help make sense, like help people connect the dots. I talk a lot about looseness and painting loose and more abstract, and that may not be your thing at all, and that is totally fine. Like painting loose is not the end all be all for everybody. For me it is. That is what I've always been chasing. If you are like a photorealist or want to paint more real, there's just no knock on that at all. That is your thing, and that's what you should chase, and that's great. I have a lot of art friends that paint like that, and I love their work, but it's, for me, just not what I'm after. Not only am I not after it, I'm after a looseness because that's the kind of art that I'm drawn to and that's the style that I like. But more than that, I'm after not just a looseness with my work, and I'm not just drawn to people's work that's loose, but I'm drawn to people's work that's loose but says more. There's something about, so in photorealist, a lot of times when we see something very photorealist, like it is just like the photograph, we ooh and ah over it because it is amazing. It's amazing work. But sometimes, not all the time, but sometimes that's where it stops. It doesn't say more than the details, than every eyelash was rendered, every blade of grass was rendered perfectly. And that is sometimes what the artist is after. That's what they want to say, and that's good. For me though, I want to say more than the details. And I thought of an example yesterday that I thought maybe would connect this. So do you know how sometimes kids' art, which is very abstract and very loose, you're drawn to it, it makes you smile, there's something happy about it, but it still can say the same things that a photorealist drawing or painting would say, and maybe would say more. So I was thinking about this drawing that my niece did when she was younger that's up on my mom's wall that I love. Like I want to have it. In fact, I may make a copy of it because I love it so much. I think about it a lot, and when I'm over at my mom's house, I go and look at it every time, and I usually just stand there and I look and look and look. So one, it's already got the quality of making me want to stay and look. One of the things it says, it's a rendering of our family, and it's at a table full of food, And is it photorealist of each one of us? No, but it says important things about each of us. It says things that were important to my niece. So even just things about like our hair, like I'm the one there next to Grady and I've got this like curly things. Now, have I worn my hair like that? No, my hair does not necessarily look like that, but it says curly, kind of crazy hair. I think it's interesting. My mom is there in the middle. She's the oldest one out of all of us, but she almost looks like the youngest one there. And I think that that says something about the tenderness of how my niece feels about her grandmother. Got my computer right here and I'm looking at it. It says things about the specialness of what my niece feels about how when we all come together. When we come together, we share a big meal. And there's things about the food that she's been thoughtful about. I even thought it was funny that my sister has a crock pot in front of her with a ladle spoon, because my sister often will bring something yummy in a crock pot. Yeah, I just feel like it says something more, and yet it's abstract and it's loose. It's not photorealist. And so I was thinking about how that's a good example of how something can say more and not be photorealist and capture all the details, but it captures the things that the artist is wanting to say, or the things that are important to the artist. So I just was thinking about those two things yesterday and thinking about the questions my mom had, thinking about some of the warm-up exercises I have in the bird class, and thinking about this drawing of my nieces. And I thought it was just a good way to portray and maybe verbalize to you guys what those of us that are after looseness, that we're not just after abstraction for abstraction's sake, but we're after saying something more. And maybe you're at that point where you can't render that, or you don't think that you can, but I thought this example of my niece's sketch, she was a young kid when she did this. So even just in kind of caveman-like markings, you can say more. And I think a lot of us artists that are in this kind of loose and abstraction, we are always trying to get back to that childlikeness and to fight this perfectionism that's just in us, because we do remember when we used to create things like this and it just came out of us and we didn't care about the marks. It was just fun to not only put the things down, but we could say things that was in us. So that's what I wanted to say. I feel like there are some more paintings someplace else. I know I did more than this and I just cannot find them. I've torn the studio apart. I've kind of got stuff scattered all throughout the house because I've been making these sketchbooks. I may show you some more in the future, I don't know, but there was enough to give you an idea of what I've been doing. I also hope talking about the thinking behind these things, how I'm approaching it, different ways that you could either use your mirror or take photos or video. I hope those things are inspiring, get you excited to do it yourself. And if you've got family members that are willing to sit for you, then by all means, take advantage of that. But I find that sometimes, like when I'm ready to paint, it's not like there's somebody I can really just hunt down. And it's just nice to be able to like go get a mirror or pull up an old photo and just paint. So don't make a big deal of it. Don't make a big process of it. It's all about just getting in there and practicing and playing and using your free model who's always available and doesn't complain. You know what I mean? And it only takes bathroom breaks when you take bathroom breaks. Only needs like a snack break when you need a snack break. It's like a win-win-win. So many wins. That is it for this week. I will see you back here in 2 weeks. Whoa! Almost missed the turn.